All right. Season 3, episode 5 of Star Trek Picard. So last episode, and just to reiterate, if you haven't watched any of the other videos, how I'm going to be doing reviews on like an episode basis, but especially when I'm doing these live shows, is I'm going to give you a recommend or not recommend. And again, I want to make more of this of a discussion, like me and you in the comments talking about the show itself and not being of a critic, because again, I think it's boring of me going like, that was a great shot, that was great writing. And keep in mind, I'm still going to say those things, but that's not going to be my focus of, man, I got to put a rating or a score on it. I just want to talk about it because I love talking about TV shows, especially theories when we get into theories, because I like doing those things. I like, talking about what could happen next, or what could we get in the show. But last episode, we had a moment um with John Riker, Jesus. William Riker and Picard, because the other episode, the Shrike, or the the Shrike, I think is called, with Vatic. They were battling with her, and Picard was like, "We need to eliminate the enemy because it's the big threat, and we need to do it now." And Riker was more of the passive person, and essentially, at the end of that episode, they were falling in the gravity well, and they couldn't move. And Riker got mad and told Picard to get off the ship because you just killed everyone on the ship. So last episode, they're having a moment where Riker's like, "Hey, sorry, I talked to you like that, and we need to come up with a strategy. We only have 4 hours left, because once the 4 hours of power and life support are gone, they're just going to suffocate." So throughout that episode, they had to come up with a plan, which the nebula had these wave of energy, like contractions in like pregnancy, and they would be timed because Dr. Crusher was doing that. And, eventually they got out of it. They threw an asteroid at Vatic, and it ended the episode there. And it pretty much opens up where Jack Crusher is like this Manchurian candidate killing everybody on the ship. And it shows like the redness in his eyes, and that's the red door thing. But it opens pretty much that they got out of the situation from last episode, and Shaw, still being the asshole that he is, he already contacted Starfleet, and they're coming here to pretty much talk to Riker and Picard, because essentially they commandeered his ship and his shuttle and got him in this situation. And obviously, in a military or an organization itself, you have to answer to your actions. Um, Trying to think other things. Oh, we got more Raffi and Worf. I gotta say, like, I was not a big fan of Raffi, but I think Raffi and Worf doing this secret agent, like noir crime stuff, is pretty freaking cool. And the training stuff is funny because Worf is now like a pacifist, or he still attacks people and kills people, but he does it in a non-angerous way. He's not all about like this warrior mentality of, I have anger and I must kill you, and I'm a warrior and all that stuff. He thinks before he acts, and he meditates and stuff. So I am digging the whole like noir stuff. But the big thing that's going on in this episode is that a ship came out of nowhere, and it's written so well that something is up. Because keep in mind, Dr. Crusher and Jack Crusher, when Dr. Crusher in first episode gave the message to Picard to not trust anybody in Starfleet, that somehow Starfleet was compromised. And I did like the line where Shaw's like, hey, they're not using teleportation, they're using shuttles to come to the ship. And I do like that you get an answer later on why they're not doing that, because the person that comes on the ship is a person that we haven't seen in a really, really long time, Ro Laren or Lauren. And again, I don't know every detail. I just remember that she backstabbed Picard in some manner, and she opens up on why she did it. But it's weird because she backstabbed Starfleet in the Next Generation. I believe it was like either season 4 or season 5. But she's a commander, and she's coming on the ship to debrief or investigate Picard because she's trying to find out about Jack Crusher. Now, I'm still clueless as far as why Jack Crusher is needed. Now, we do get those, that red door and the red vines, and now his nightmare of becoming this Manchurian candidate where he gets activated like MK Ultra and like shoots people. So like you get an idea that he is, I guess, dangerous. So maybe that's why Starfleet wants him, because he could potentially be a weapon, and maybe because the changelings want him because he could be used as a weapon to kill Starfleet, higher up in Starfleet. So I don't know the exact thing on Jack Crusher, but again, another red flag, because you would think that Ro Laren or Commander Ro is trying to find out why or how they stole the shuttle and why they commandeered the ship and got him in this trouble. She's very focused on Jack Crusher. And you're just like, well, something's going on. Is she compromised? Because throughout the episode, you're learning about a new species changeling, because usually when they die, they turn into goo, but somehow they found a way to die and still be in form of the person that they were. Because um, Ensign LaForge was a changeling last episode, and she's still LaForge. Because it's funny because she comes up to her changeling body and she pukes, and that's a funny scene. So, you Commander Rose on there, you don't know what's going on. And again, we're getting more Jack Crusher stuff where he's having like these weird visions and hearing this woman say something to him, like "come on" or something like that. I totally forgot the wording that was used, but she's like trying to call to him and activate him, I guess. But what was written really well in this episode is Picard and Ro, because yeah, they're having this conversation where she's trying to find out if Picard is Picard, and Picard is trying to figure out if Commander Ro is the actual Ro that he met back in season 4 of the Next Generation. So it was written really well. Where I was like, oh man, I don't know if she's a changeling or not. And then obviously they go into the holodeck and they're arguing with each other, and they're spilling their emotions to each other, and they find out that they're, the real deal. That she's actually Commander Ro, and I was like, oh shit, it's her, she's the real person. And yeah, here's the part, because he got a message from Dr. Crusher saying don't trust anybody, and he thinks that she's a changeling, and she finds out that he's they're both not changelings. And she's like, hey, we have, an insurrection. There's people that took over Starfleet. She don't know who's a changeling and who is not. And she was afraid of using the transporter because they were killing people as they were getting beamed somewhere. So that was written really well, or where she was traveling in shuttle, and that's the reason why she was traveling in shuttle. And back to Raffi and Worf, and because they killed, well, Worf killed Sneed to save Raffi, they had to go find this gangster Vulcan guy, and I'm trying to see if I could find out his name here. Kryn. he he like they go into the city, and his Vulcan gangster people surround them, and just like how Sneed was, and how every Ferengi is, they're greedy, and somehow a Vulcan got greedy with wealth and stuff, and I guess finds it logical in a sense to wager some deals, and they had to have a fight, Raffi and Worf, and whoever wins gets information. So I liked it because she she stabs him, and I was like, "Oh man, is Worf dead already?" Because what a way to go out. Like, you never get that moment that Worf and Picard ever seeing each other again. I was like, this is kind of a stupid way to sign off Worf. So I was kind of down on that. But then you find out that he was doing a like Klingon thing where he lowered his heartbeat, and pretty much faked his death just so that he could arrest Kryn and question him. And obviously, we got more of the talking, and then she has an emotional moment with Picard because she kind of says, you know, I felt terrible doing that, but you had to be in my shoes. It was right at the moment. And, you know, he would probably make some similar thing if he was part of another organization, and Starfleet has always been his home. He would probably make the same decision. So Ro gives Picard her earring, because that was another thing that was written well, because Picard is like, I know she's a changeling because you're not wearing any, or she like he questions her about Bajorans, and their earrings and stuff. Why you not wearing it if you like them so much? And she hands him the earring, and it was a nice moment. But I also liked the real reason why she gave the earring to him. But then we get another thing with Shaw. He's like, wait a second, you're off that easy? And Picard's like, we need to run. That's when because Ro is like, we need to go back to the ship, and these people are like, hey, we need to get Jack Crusher, and he's like, that's an order, we need to go, and they're like, screw this. And while they're on the shuttle, they plant a bomb, and they transport back to the Enterprise, or I'm sorry, the Titan. And Picard is like, hey, we need to go. And Shaw's like, no, wait a second. You're supposed to like be with them. I don't understand this. So because she has the the bomb and stuff, and she can't go back or anything because of the timer, she messages the bridge, and obviously Shaw hears everything. And then also she launches herself into one of the warp coil things. I don't know the exact thing, but this energizes the warp. It's some type of energy tube. She launches her shuttle, and then it blows up, and Shaw's like, what the hell is going on? And obviously that gets the idea, like, hey, we need to move and get the hell out of here. This is where this is not a dream anymore. This is not a nightmare. He's activated. He had like some MK Ultra with that red door, and he kills four of those changelings, and they warp out of here. And Picard was talking to Riker, and he's like, she gave me this earring, and Riker does his Riker smile, and finds out that she was investigating this changeling situation. And then this is when we find out that Ro was the handler for Worf, and obviously Worf was the handler for, you know, Raffi. So we get our moment of Worf and Picard, which hopefully we get in person soon, because I would love to see the group all together. Then we get the part where his mother says, "Hey, something's wrong." And how did you know these were all changelings? And he said he didn't. And he admits, something's off with him. Something is kind of controlling him. And that's where the episode ends. So, again, I recommend it because we had another great moment. We had the Riker and Picard moment last episode where Jonathan Frakes is having the time of his life directing and I believe you're written it too, but also starring in it and acting his ass off. And now we have a Picard moment with Commander Rowe, and that scene was powerful. There's so many powerful scenes between like the Picard and Crusher moment. The first moment where he's just staring at her, and he gets the confirmation that that's his son, Jack Crusher. And then you had the moment where Picard was talking to Crusher about like I should have been there for him, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you had never been there. You care about your Starfleet more than anything." And you get that moment, then you get the Picard and Riker moment, and then you get the Picard and Jack Crusher and Picard and Shaw moment. Like there's so many of those moments where it's one-on-one conversation where it's just so written well, where you're just like on the edge of your seat, like having so much emotions and stuff. And it's great. I I don't like I understand people are pissed off because of Star Trek Discovery and the first two seasons Picard. They don't like woke Star Trek, and I get that. But Terry Matalas, who is the writer for season 3, because Alex Kirkman, I think his name is not handling season 3 at all, who was handling season 1 and 2, and that's why it was terrible. Terry Matalas actually talked to Star Trek fans to be like, "Hey, what was bad about season 1 and season 2?" He got feedback and then made season 3, which so far it's been either perfect or near perfect almost every episode. So, if you could cancel out Discovery and cancel out Picard season 1 and 2, I think you could look at this at face value and be like, yes, this is a Star Trek show. The only thing that I'm kind of down on is like every season, it always seems like there's a imposter in Starfleet. And I kind of wish season 3 involved another world and another government structure on that world that become villains for season 3. I would have liked something like that in season 3 instead of being like, "There's imposters in Starfleet. We need to find out who's the imposter and how did it happen." I'm kind of getting bored of that, but obviously this is the last season, so. But yeah, I recommend that. I guess questions for you that you could answer in the comments section. What do you guys think about Raffi and Worf? Do you think that chemistry is doing well? I kind of like the whole buddy cop noir thing that's happening, and that Vulcan Kryn is kind of awesome. What do you think, Jack Crusher? That's another question with the whole red door. Do you think he's a changeling? Do you think Starfleet is controlling, like whoever is the bad Starfleet is controlling him in some way, where he's this weapon that he can be activated and kill anybody who the person behind the red door wants? Well, who do you think that is? And do you think it's one of the old Star Trek Next Generation characters that are controlling him? I kind of want your guys' opinion on that. What did you guys think about Commander Rowe and Picard? Do you think those scenes with them and how like you didn't know if she was a changeling or not? Do you think that was written well, where you're just like, holy crap, it actually is Rolaren? What'd you think about that? And what do you think about her being the main investigator, the handler for Worf as well? I absolutely love that. And I guess that's all the questions I have because this was a very straightforward episode and I liked it a lot. And I like that we get that Commander Rowe situation. She died a hero pretty much by damaging the other Starfleet ship because apparently that is compromised and probably most of them are changelings. But give me you guys' opinions on the questions that I put out for you in the comments below. But yeah, that is season 3, episode 5 of Picard.